Welcome back to the Grit Zone podcast. You are listening to Dr. P, and I just want to thank y'all so much for the opportunity to be able to share a little bit of my life story and a little bit about who I am and who uh, God has designed me to be and how I got here in this space. This is the Grit Zone podcast, where we talk about 4 pillars of life. That is God, resilience, integrity, and tenacity. And I just want to say, y'all showed out. I have gotten views and comments and conversation about my first episode. It costs to be me. And I just want to publicly say thank you to everyone who has shown me love, who has told me that my story has helped them to tell their story. And I personally want to thank my sister, Elena, for interviewing me and for just being present in that space. Some of the things she didn't even know. She was learning in that space. And so it was a great opportunity and just a space that her and I could share together. But I am so grateful that she not only chose to interview me, but she was authentically herself, and I loved it. And it just brought so much more jazz to the space. So I completely just want to say thank you, sis, for being present that day and showing up and being a part of my immediate community, and not just my blood, but you are my friend, and I appreciate you. Today, I said this would be a part 2. I thought of all of these other things that I would do and talk about. I think I had even posted some things where I was like, oh, I could talk about, the silent crisis in Chicago as it relates to Black people. And how these silent crises impact Black people, because it is the month of May. And if you know me, you know that I live and thrive off supporting people who are living and thriving with mental illnesses. May is established as the Mental Health Awareness Month. And so I needed to give a part 2, because my part 1, that it costs to be me, I talked about some things that was associated with my mental illnesses that I have struggled with in my past. And I talked about depression, and I talked about suicidal ideation and thoughts and attempts, and I talked about anxiety. I talked about all of these different traumas that were attached to things that I struggled with as a young child, as a teenager, and in my young adult years. But I didn't talk enough about how I survived those things. And that's the piece that I want to talk about today. So this is the part 2 to It Costs to Be Me. But today we are going to talk about the survival of the cost. And that piece is important for those who are listening. That piece is important for those who are choosing to live beyond what they are experiencing today. Every day, there are individuals who are fighting with mental illnesses. Every day, there are people who are thriving and learning how to balance their lives, but also struggling with thoughts of suicide and depression and anxiety and fears and all type of things that could show up for them. And I want to take the time today to say, not only do I see you, but I hear you. And if nobody else is present for you, I create space and I make space for you today. So let's jump right in. Of course, I have to have notes because I don't have my sister here to interview me. But I want this to still feel like we are in the same space with each other. We are still having a conversation with each other. And you still get to learn a little bit about me. But I want to share some things with you all that you can take with you. So this is just not a space where you're going to hear all about Dr. P or Patty stuff, but I want you to have some takeaways, some things that you can either hold on to, right? Or some things that you could go back to and keep listening to. Because I'm a Black woman, and I've said this in so many spaces, I'm a Black queer woman, I wanted to share some stats with you all, and hopes that those stats will help you to not only understand where society is today, where the world is today. But today I'm going to focus a little bit more on Black women and the impacts that mental health has had on Black women. And I'm going to start by saying this. It is always interesting to talk about mental health in Black women because of the things that we have had to carry for so long. And I have had true examples, and this is a sneak peek. Next month, you will be in the presence of 4 Black women who have helped to push me to where I am today. And we are going to talk about, the roots of resilience. So that's just a sneak peek, and you'll get to see my mom and all her closest friends. But I wanted to talk about Black women with mental health because not only is it an important topic, but for whatever reason, Black women have wore this cape of security and this cape of survival for so long that sometimes we forget to take the cape off. And even when the cape comes off, it still feels like it is on. And so as a Black woman that is trying every single day and learning every single day what it means to be a mother, what it means to be a Black mother raising a Black son, what it means to be a Black partner, what it means to be a Black executive, what it means to be a Black business owner, to be a Black influencer. It is not easy balancing all of those different things with the attach of someone saying, you look a certain way, you got to be mean or rude or nasty, or because you carry yourself a certain type of way, because you don't allow people to talk to you a certain type of way, that people will deem you all types of things but who you are and who you have worked hard to be. Statistics say this, that 63% of Black women are experiencing depression on an everyday basis. 55% of Black women in America now are experiencing anxiety. And 44% of Black women are experiencing suicidal ideation. Lastly, 44% of those same Black women will self-harm. These are important facts when you are working beside a Black woman, when you are in church with a Black woman, when you are in partnership with a Black woman, when you are parenting with a Black woman, when you are friends with a Black woman. These are things that show up for them on a day-to-day basis, but sometimes you will never see it. Sometimes you won't even know that it exists. And that is the part that scares me the most. I talked about in my first episode suicidal thoughts and attempting suicide. So I fell in that 44%. And I fell in the 63%. And I fell in the 55% with depression and anxiety. I didn't give enough detail, but I talked through what it looked like for me just a little bit and how my silence did not protect me, how being in a space with people sometimes were the most unhealthiest for me, but I kept myself there because I had to show that my cape could fly through it all. No matter how many rips it had, no matter how many tears it had, I needed to show that I can still fly, even with all of the holes, even with all of the burn marks, even with all of the things. My cape could still fly, but I was hurting me on the inside. I was struggling on the inside. I specifically talked about the space where, and I had a friend of mine, I call her my sister. She said, no, I want to hear more about that bridge. And anybody that knows the significance of a bridge, it is a connecting piece, right? From one end to the next. And there was some times where standing on that bridge, there was a bridge that was on 43rd, and I thank God they tore it down and they rebuilt it, because every time I would pass by it, I would see that same moment over and over again. But when they rebuilt it, I saw who God has called me to be today. And the day that I wanted to take my life, I had been in a really, really bad relationship. And it did some really, really, it did a number on me. I did not see value in who I was. I didn't understand who I was. And I didn't see myself being anything beyond what I was in the moment. I could not see my future. I did not have my son at the time. I didn't have my doctorate at the time. I'm going to keep calling these things out because God had a plan for me. He knew me. He formed me in my mother's womb, even before all of the things that I knew. And I say that to you. He knew you and he formed you even before you knew anything about your life. I didn't have a house. I didn't have a car. I wasn't making six figures. None of these things. I was 27 years old. I was 27 years old. And I said, nobody sees my heart. They don't see how big my heart is. I carry people and they keep dropping me. But I just go back and I carry them again, only for them to drop me again. We'll get on that another time when you carry the people who seem to keep dropping you. And that day, I remember leaving my apartment and driving over there, which was by a church. And I walked up to that bridge and I cried and I paced from one end to the next. And I cried and I cried and I asked God and I said, why am I not lovable? Why am I in a space where I can't get it right? You can't have much more from me at this point. What good can come from me at this point? And when I paced back and forth, I'm watching these cars. Trust me, it was on Lakeshore Drive. And anybody who knows Chicago knows they treat Lakeshore Drive like it is a race course. You hear me? Like, it got to be a racetrack. The cars are flying all day. So I'm watching these cars just fly back and forth, back and forth. And I kid you not, I stood there and I just screamed and I belted out of my stomach everything that I had in me. And I said, God, you got to do something different in my life. I desire to have more. You show me little glimpses, but yet I haven't got there yet. What is it that you need me to do? Why am I still stuck in a space? Why can't I move forward? And as I sat on the bridge, all I could hear was, be still and know that I am God. You have to trust God in some of the most stickiest, sad, depressed, and hard moments. It is not easy. But those moments, every time I felt like I was at the edge, God snatched me back. So I didn't know that. I knew that I wanted to have doctor in the front of my name. I knew that I wanted to have children. I knew I wanted to have life. I knew I wanted to be loved. I knew I wanted all of these things. I just could never see myself getting there. And so today, I want us to really just have a conversation about, like, what does it look like, not just for Black women, but for men and for children and for those who are marginalized and those who are oppressed. What does it look like for you to do exactly what you see on my shirt? Seek life and have that life. The Bible tells us that we can have that life and have it more abundantly. But what does it really, really mean to just seek life and to live through that, even if you are struggling, even if you are having sad moments and down moments and moments where you don't understand what's happening and what's happening to me? This is a space that I want us to be able to really talk through those things. So I got my little notes, and let's just have a conversation about how we can survive even the cost of being you, the cost of showing up, the cost of being present even when no one else is, the cost of being a parent, the cost of being a partner or an executive or a boss or a business owner or anything that you can fill in the blanks with. What is the cost, but how do I survive it? So, well, of course, number one, I'll tell you God, but that you have to seek for yourself, right? But what is your identity? How do you identify you? What does it look like? And how do you show up in spaces? And how do people see you for who you are? Who is your authentic self? When I answer that question for myself, like I shared on my first podcast, that was very hard for me. It was very difficult for me to even talk about that because I didn't know at one point if I would be able to tell y'all half of the stuff that I told you that day, nor did I know that I would be comfortable enough to say that I was queer. I never thought that I would be comfortable enough to even sit in front of people and say, yo, I love God and I'm in a queer relationship and I identify as a queer person. I never thought that because I was so afraid of how people would judge me. I was so afraid of how people would look at me. I was so afraid of how people would, just talk to me or treat me. I was so afraid all the time that I operated in fear until my fear could not protect me. And I had to stand 10 toes down in who I am, not in who everybody else wanted me to be. And so when I determined who I was, when I showed up who I was, when I was present with me, when I knew how to sit with me, when I knew how to be alone, when I knew how to cry by myself and pray by myself and seek God by myself, and I knew how to identify me, so much more changed for me. So much more of my life became life for me. I started living and not just existing because I didn't have to hide behind a mask or a shell of who Patty was. I was able to just be me. I remember when I left college and when I graduated from getting my bachelor's, I used to have really, now my hair is really long, but I used to have really long perm straight hair. And one day I got a bad perm and my hair fell out in the middle of my head, and my hair was a piece of who I was. And I was angry. My hair was brittle. It was breaking off. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So I cut my hair off, and I had this bob. But back then I was like 200 and some pounds, and baby, a bob with a little weight, one cute old patty. Okay. But I wore it and that was just that. But I had to grow my hair back out to be healthy, but cutting my hair and watching my hair break off, it did something to me. But the breaking is what I needed in order for it to grow. I needed to see all of my split ends. I needed to see the breakage in the middle of my hair. And I needed to get to a comfortable hairstyle, right? Where I can see, okay, this is good enough for me. I can't cut no shorter than this, right? But I had to keep cutting. And sometimes that's what happens to us in our life. We keep getting in all of these situations and not understanding, right? Why is this constantly cutting me? Why am I being pruned? Why am I going through this season? And it's simply just so you can grow in a healthy way. Not in a way, right, that is not healthy for you. But the pruning and the cutting is what gets you to the growth and the wellness, right? By the time I left college, I had made a decision. I'm never getting another perm. I was like, me and the creamy crack, it's a wrap. I'm never doing it again. And I said, in this moment, I want to do something different that defines me. Because yes, I love my hair, but I needed something that speaks to the identity of Patty. And so I said, well, it's off, it's cut, it's short. I'm at this little bob. I thought I was going to keep it at shoulder length, but I had to keep pruning. I had to keep cutting to get to a space where I could identify me. And that's when I started my lock journey. And my locks was this small when I first started it. But over time, as time went on, my hair grew. And my hair is healthy and it's strong and it's rooted. We could go down this thing of lock journeys. But sometimes we have to go through the cutting and the pruning for the growth to happen. And that came when Patty was able to say, all right, take the mask off. All right, stop hiding behind something that you are not. And just be you. Just show up as yourself and watch how people respond. And when I started doing that, I was even shocked that people liked me. I was like, oh, okay, I'm out here. I'm cool. People actually will jive with me. They gonna talk to me. They're gonna communicate with me as long as I show up as myself. People can choose to do whatever they want to do, act however they want to act. They can choose to be around you. They can choose not to be around you. But the reality of it is when I showed up as myself, people was more likely to be comfortable with who they were too. So the identity, when you start to identify and get comfortable with your identity, some of those things that you struggle with will begin to subside. And life looks a little bit different when you take the mask off. Another thing is community and support. Having community and having a healthy support system is important for surviving through the cost of being you. When you don't have community and you don't have a strong support system, it does make you feel like you are alone. It does leave you in a space of loneliness. And when you don't know to trust people, you don't know to be transparent with people, you don't know how to talk to people about what you may be experiencing or what you may be going through, it is hard. It is even harder because now you're subjecting yourself, your body, which is your temple, right? You're subjecting yourself to all of these things, and they're imploding and exploding and ready to come out, but you're too afraid. And there were moments where I said, if I just kept it to myself, if I don't talk about it, it's not real. And that's not the truth. If I don't share it, people won't think I'm crazy, because pen right here is let's stick a pause in it. For whatever reason in the Black community, when it comes to mental health, I'm telling you, we have taken that what happens in this house stays in this house concept so serious. I mean, we take it to the heart. So everything that happened in the crib, we leave it in the crib, and then we don't release it. And then we're holding all of these things on the inside, and it's unwell for us. It does not, it don't do nothing for us, right? Don't air out your dirty laundry. Just keep it stinking. It stink. But I'm going to keep it balled up in the corner. I don't talk about it. I don't experience it. I don't even want to show up, because you're going to think I'm crazy. And I don't want you to think I'm crazy. I want you to think that I'm perfect. I want you to think that I'm a strong Black woman. I want you to think I'm an awesome mother. I want you to think I'm a great partner. I want you to think that I got it all together. I got a doctorate degree. I got this. I got the job. I got the partner. I got this. I want you to think all of that about me, and on the inside, I'm dying for the sake of you living. But I can't live. No. I had to learn the hard way when it came to community and support. It's not people sometimes who you think it will be. God will send a stranger your way to bless you. God will send people to you that will remind you, will give you gentle reminders to seek life. And those are the things for me that when it came to my community, when it came to support, I didn't always know how to talk to people. I didn't always know what to say. I didn't always even know how to show up, because I was too afraid that what happens in this house, my temple, my body, it stayed in there, because that's what I was taught. What happens in this house stays in this house. You don't go out airing your dirty laundry. So even if people smelled me, I masked it. A little perfume, little cologne, little soap, right? Put your shea butter on, look nice, get your hair cut. When the reality of it is I was hurting, I was broken, I was bruised. And in so many of those spaces, if I just would have allowed myself to trust the very people who kept showing up for me, I would have made things a little bit easier for me. I would have been able to survive a little bit better in those moments. But I didn't trust people around because I felt like people would talk about me. I felt like people would judge me. I felt like people would send me to hell. I felt like people wouldn't really truly understand who Pavi was and how Pavi presented and how she showed up, which is why today it doesn't bother me when people say, well, I told y'all this before, the folks send me to hell quick. You can't put me in the heaven or hell, but it took me a long time to build community. And sometimes the community won't even be present. Let me just be clear there. And sometimes you will have to build your community. That is hard when you are struggling, but you have to be transparent. A part of my community right now today, shout out to my therapist, Dr. Winfield. I told her that girl, I'll be forgetting to pay you because I feel like you my home girl. And those are people that I had to say, no, this isn't my partner. This isn't my mom. This isn't my kid. This isn't my best friend. But now I want to build a healthy community around me of people that I never even knew existed in my life. And when you have that community and when you are able to establish that community around you, I am telling you, things will change. I'm telling you, things will change. They got to. Because not only will you have yourself and you've identified who you are, now you have the presence of people who you know care for you, who will show up for you, who will create space for you. They will also take space, and that is okay. But they are committed to you seeking life and living. And that is what I want everybody on here to do. Because in order for you to just say that you've survived the cost of being you, you got to also say in the end, I am living, not just existing. Because when you seek life and when you're looking for life, it comes to you. And that is what my community, today I can say that I'm learning who my community is and who my community isn't. And I don't even know if I grammatically said that correct, but I know who's going to show up for me. I know who's going to pray for me. I know who's not going to take their hands off of me. I know who's going to sit with me in hard times. I know who's going to be present. I know who is, I know who is going to fight even when I don't know what to say. I know who's going to understand my tears. Where I'm still learning is the people who I thought would do that are no longer in my life. And those are the things that hurt the most. But I am learning about people and community. Sometimes there's just a little Bible, because I realized this at the end of the year. I was, I went and I said, I'm going to stop saying speaking engagements. God put me on assignment to go and talk to young people about friendships and checking in with people. And it was a mental health segment to really just talk about how do we check in on each other. And one of the things that I was struggling with was my friendships. And so God pulled me away. He took me away and he took me. And he said, don't reach out to anybody. I will show you who your friends are. I'm going to show you two types of people. I'm going to show you your sitters, because Job had friends that showed up for him. They questioned everything. They had no idea what was happening. None whatsoever. They questioned him. And they said, you had to have done something for the Lord to treat you like this. Something have had to happen for you to get to this point where he has stripped you of everything. They didn't know what to do with Job, so they sat with him. They ripped all their clothes off. They did all of it. And you had to do something wrong. And those were sitters. And they didn't know what to do with him. So God showed me sitters in my life. And then he showed me a different type of friend, a different type of community, where there was a man when they were getting ready to crucify Jesus, that he probably was on his way to the little grocery store, okay? On his way to the market. on his way to get a pair of sandals or something like that. And they snatched this man up. Hey, get on the other end of this cross and help him carry this cross, which was heavy. Heavy. I forget the pounds of the cross, but it was mighty heavy. He did not question. He did not stop. He simply just helped him carry his cross. No whining, no complaining. But what about what you gonna do for me? How you gonna show up for me? None of those things. How many people could you say that you have in your life that is true, like your true community, that will say, I don't care what it is. I don't care how heavy it is. I don't care what it looked like. I don't care what it feels like. I don't care. I'm going to help you carry it. I'm going to show up for you. I'm going to be present for you. I don't need to ask no questions. Because if you're crying, clearly there's something wrong. Let me just grab the tissue and wipe your eyes. If you're hurting, and I don't even know what you're hurting about, it ain't for me to try to figure it out. Just be present. Sit in a space. Sometimes it's just listening. God showed me who my sitters were, and he showed me who the people who would help me carry my cross. I went to, my partner says that she likes to do outside things, but she really don't like to do outside things. But she says she does. So we're going to rock with the fact that she says she likes to do outside things. We went to a hiking park, and I didn't want to go. I was really struggling that weekend. And so I was like, I just need to get away. I need to clear my mind. So we go up into the mountains and the woods away. And I remember finding, as I was walking, and we walked these trails, and along these trails, I was like, man, it was such a silent space, but also a space where you could hear God through even the trees and the leaves and the water. And there were some moments of stillness. But I remember literally walking. There was this pathway that took you up a hill, not the Calvary hill, but it took you up this hill. And right before I got to the steps to take me up, then we were exiting out. There was this large, and I mean large, piece of wood. I have no idea what made me pick it up, but she captured the moment of me carrying this wood. I said, I wonder if I could carry it up. I wonder if I can walk up these stairs with something so heavy, knowing that even in that moment, I was carrying something very heavy. And when I got to the top, I said, whoo, that thing was heavy. Not knowing that she had recorded the moment of me walking up, that I was carrying so much stuff that when I finally dropped it, the load, the lightness that I felt, the picture shows light shining on me. Because in those moments, when you not only just have community, how many of us really truly make God a part of our community? Because he is our number one support system, right? Sometimes when we don't have the friends, when we don't have the people that show up for us, he is a friend to the friendless, mother to the motherless, right? But that moment, it spoke volumes to me, to see me carry something on my own, release something on my own, and still know that God was still shining on me. Having those people and having people around like that has helped me to endure and grow and push even further. Having a support system, it's important. It's important for us to Let me pause and say this. It does not make you a weak person to need and want people around you. It doesn't make you any less strong, right? Or stronger like than the next person to want or to desire to have a community, a healthy community, to show up for you, to be present with you. That is where resilience comes in. When you can put yourself aside and say, I need you. I don't even know what to voice, but I need you in my community. I need you around me. I need you to talk to me. I need to be just with you. I need to cry and be able to just let it go. And when I say that my support system has involved my therapist, she didn't know me from a can of paint. In the first session, I just bawled it all out. What would it take for Black women, for queer people, for young people and marginalized people and those who are struggling and those who are oppressed to just accept the fact that I need someone. I need people around me. They are the people who will help lift me up, who will help me to seek God, who will help me to seek peace, who will help me to seek life. That's resilience. We talk about grit. That is resilience. And so surviving the cost meant identifying who I was, taking my mask off and saying, this is my authentic self. That's how I can survive. It meant taking on certain things, knowing that there were systematic barriers, knowing that there was everything counted against me and owning the fact of who I was and embracing that. But also being comfortable in uncomfortable spaces and recognizing that I needed a community, that I was able to be free enough to talk about things that maybe other people weren't free enough to talk about. That is why I can say it cost to be me. But also I can say I survived those things. I survived depression. I survived anxiety. I survived suicidal ideation and suicidal thoughts. I survived the bridge. I did. And when I sought out life, when I sought out Christ, there were so many other things added to my life. When I found self-love, so much more came back to me that I could pour out to you today. So have the grit. Have the grit to be able to tell your story. Have the grit to be able to have the resilience. Have the grit to ask for help. Have the grit to seek community and have the grit to seek life. Thank you all so much for tuning in to this second episode, part 2, to It Costs to Be Me. Thank you all for being present, for showing up in this space, for listening and taking the time to just simply be you, survive it, endure it, make it through. Identify your own identity and seek life. I'll see y'all next time on the Grit Zone podcast with your very own Dr. P. Y'all have a good one. I'm out.